All right, welcome, Blueprint Dynasty friends and family, and all of our listeners who don't even know you, to the Banter Boys podcast, hosted by the Flat Tire All Stars and the lead Banter Boy, your champion, Banter or Else. Final play that either of our players played. I know I texted it, but for anybody that doesn't pay attention to the text, Christian McCaffrey, 18-yard catch is the difference between winning and losing. And the difference between winning $1,800, being up 1650, I guess that would be, or being up 1550 and being down $100. Because we do not give our second place people their money back. So, congratulations, Adam, on your victory. Congratulations on Christian McCaffrey and all the right decisions that you made and not having to live with Derrick Henry being on your bench for the rest of your life. So, without further ado, let's hear your victory speech.
Well, Cam, thank you. I mean, you're very, very gracious to welcome me. I can't imagine what it's like being on your side. I think it's a little bit of tension in there, just knowing that we were going head to head there in the finals, and now you have to sit
Hey, look,
camera to
I've worn the
camera.
crown, man. I've worn the crown.
That's true. In fact, it actually has a little gold medal thing above your name right there, so it recognizes your former dominance. Um, yeah, well, Cam, I didn't necessarily plan a full speech. I've got I don't know a few pages here that we put together, and really I just want to last year at this time I remember sitting here sending out Venmo payments, to multiple people, hefty Venmo payments, and I just remember thinking like at that moment like last year I thought my team was good, I thought I had a good team last year. I was coming off a runner-up season, in our first year and then finished fourth last year. But the whole year I thought my team was good, always scoring a fair amount of points. But looking across, I saw your team. I saw what greatness looked like. The 160 points, the 180 points, the capability to get up close to 200. And I saw the makings of a great team. And I realized at the end of the year when I finished fourth that my team wasn't that good, and we had a lot of work to do. So I met with all our guys one on one and met with Christian, JSN, Nico, Achan, all those guys, and just had some heart to hearts. And like the big message we wanted to get across is like, hey, we need you the whole year. It's time to get healthy. I'm
Mhm.
going to work on things myself. I'm going to try to get in better shape. I went on a diet for about 6 months last year, had great success. I was in the gym, and I wanted my guys to see that, with their leader. And what do you know? I mean, owe it all a lot to our, strength and conditioning team, our doctors on staff. We stayed healthy all year, and I think that's what separated us. But not only that, when we were in the game, on the field, the guys were great. Um, I mean, McCaffrey being the number one player on the year was just awesome.
One in all of fantasy, including quarterbacks.
Yeah,
You
including
said.
quarterbacks. I think he ended up with 500 or 425 points total. And had the clutch winning catch for the championship, which is unbelievable. JSN doing what people believed he could. I challenged him at the beginning of the year. I was like, "Can you keep up with Puka?" I looked him dead in the eye and asked him, and he told me he could. And what do you know? He did it. He just finished right behind him, but he did it all year long. Unbelievable. Nico, I was like, "Hey, you don't have to be the number one. We're gonna let JSN be that guy. I just need you to be a good number two. Stay healthy." Told AJ Brown like, "You're gonna get your catches. You're gonna get your points." It might not be every week, but you're going to have 18-point weeks, and he did it. And I was just really proud of him. Drake May stepped up in an unbelievable way, and it was
Yeah.
just really impressive. And yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning of the year, people gave us some credit, so we're pretty solid. But I don't think anybody believed we were going to go 13-1. We set, I mean, we set the regular season wins record. We set the most points scored in a season, and fun fact, we had the most wins in franchise out of all the franchises over 3 years and most points scored now. And now we got our championship. And I just feel proud of my guys. And I tell them every day, like, hey, you're the best. And now you
Yeah.
got the hardware to prove it,
You got the hardware.
and
Yeah.
so just an honor to serve as your commissioner now as your champion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was longer than I thought it'd be. A lot more patting yourself on the back. I will say, if speeches about injuries work, James Terrell, take the advice. You have a good team. If you could just keep them healthy, you might even have a great one.
Hey, I think he has, and that boy's been swinging some bells and doing his Turkish get-ups, and I think his team's going to see him doing that.
Yeah.
And you watch out. I
You
mean,
watch
you
out.
watch out. Those guys are going to see it and follow.
Yeah, we didn't talk about doing like looking forward to next year. I do think James is definitely like the person besides us two that I feel the most threatened by. I feel like there's a lot of teams that are good, but his team really was on the rocks all year with those injuries. And I'm excited about seeing if he can put together a healthy year. I'm excited about both of our teams. Your team's, a little older, but there's a long summer ahead of us to figure out what our lineups are going to look like. I
Oh
mean, I'm,
yeah,
I'm pretty
fun off season.
vulnerable to the fact that I only have like three offenses that I rely on. We'll get to it. Kind of what we're going to do next, guys, is talk about kind of superlatives of the season. We'll kind of get to it, but you know, traded for golf, and that just made me more reliant on another offense. And I really liked that trade for the season, but definitely leaves me vulnerable to the future.
Something
And
to think about. Maybe there's some tweaks. I mean, all those guys are superstars too. I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there
I
could be
think
some tweaks.
yeah, if you're out there, we can talk about trades. So the only other thing I wanted to do, and I mentioned it in the intro, is I think, the championship was basically a coin flip. And the difference between, I mean, I lost $100 for the whole year to lose a coin flip at the end. I mean, $100 is not that much money. I'm not freaked out about it, but I do think, second place, I think should get their money back. Most points in the regular season that doesn't make the playoffs gets $50. And
Which I told you,
which is one third of what I got to be second place. It's like those aren't comparable accomplishments. I think it's hilarious. You told me that might not have even mentioned it to them because they might not have known about that prize or whatever. Not accusing you of being duplicitous,
you can
whatever.
accuse me of that because I don't know what it means.
No, but what I wanted to say is basically I brought it back up because I thought it's so hilarious that they're splitting $50. They get
And
$25 each. They could not. What can you do with $25?
Spencer, I saw Spencer that night or the day after I sent that to him, and he made a comment. He's like, "Yeah, that was kind of like a kick to the gut," and I was like, "Well, perfect."
Yeah. Okay. I like that they took it as an insult because I kind of pictured it as an insult to send them that because it's like they can go on a date, not with their wives, not a double date, but just each other to like
They could get coffee.
yeah, maybe coffee. I was thinking like Whataburger, like just some fast food. They can't go to Chili's. They can't go to Applebee's.
Yeah,
They are limited to fast food.
and I mean, I guess it played its part this year. Though, we'll probably have to look at that, and maybe do some tweaking. I did play out a scenario if the buy-in was 300 and reformatted it, and I think there's a lot. It looked a lot better, like the different payout tiers, with not really changing the winners payout a lot, but being able to pay out like other spots more.
Well, I like that the winner gets the lion's share because I
And
do
I
feel
want it to be that
like
way. Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of fantasy leagues that I participated in, I think winner takes all is tricky, but I think when you split like most points gets a payout, third place gets their money back, second place gets a payout, first place gets the rest. It's like first place gets half the pot. Like I don't think that's enough. I think first place
Right.
should get the most. And so I'm not really upset that you got all the money, but I do
Feels that
think
way.
third place or first place to miss the playoffs shouldn't get anything until we're supporting second place getting their money back.
No, yeah, yeah, you're probably right there.
And that if you're not going to increase a pot, you shouldn't increase the pot for points, regular season points. Like that should stay more static than the second place pot.
I think when I ran through it with like a $3,000 total pot, it was like $2,000 for the overall champ. And I think I had like second getting 300 or 350, and then third place getting 150 or something like that. And then most points, still getting 500. But
Yeah,
it's something. Hey,
I like
what?
500 for most points a lot.
Yeah,
But like if we increase the buy-in, it's like keep that at 500. Second place gets their money back. You can give third place something, but that's where I like wouldn't increase like to scale. I would just keep
yeah.
it. But anyway, guys, blueprint. Adam and I decided we didn't want to talk about ourselves this whole time. So we have lined up some superlatives. I don't think I'm really giving that many to us. I'm mostly trying to pass these out to other people. I did not purposefully avoid giving them to us, but I did think you guys earned some superlatives. These are about half and half, positive and negative. And so they're all geared around moves that were made this year that are for this year. So if you made a move that maybe it will look better in 2026 or 2027, we kind of tried to disregard that and we wanted to focus on did your move make a difference for this year? That's trades, that's waiver pickups, that's draft picks, etc. So without
And
further,
I'll say,
go
Cam,
ahead.
too, when I was going through it, like there was a there was a lot of activity and like a lot of different ways to look at this.
Oh
When
yeah.
we like sent over like, hey, let's look at these few things. I mean, there's a lot of trades, a lot of waiver ads and all that. And
Mhm.
so it's very easy to I'm mainly speaking to Elliot right now because he usually has a comment about us missing one of his 30 players on his team. But it is very easy to like overlook a trade. And
So
I
easy.
found myself a lot of these trades didn't involve you or I, or really many of the playoff teams. I felt like some of the better moves were made like with non-playoff teams that had like got impact players. So,
Correct.
um, but yeah, so it is just a caveat there. There was a lot of things to sift through once we decided to do this a few hours ago.
Yeah, I want to insulate ourselves from Elliot's criticism.
Yeah, he's
But
tough, dude.
giving him an award here on the front end, I didn't tell you about this award, but he's going to get the superlative for the best trader of 2025.
Oh my goodness.
And this is basically my thinking. So he is rebuilding. And so his moves did not really help him this year, but he traded Dak, Pittman, Rico Dowdell, and a third round pick for three first round picks and a third.
Yeah,
Plus, he also made the Jameson for a first trade. That's less of like a clear win because Jameson's a 1,000 yard receiver. Like there was a point earlier this season where people were kind of roasting him about the James or Jules about the Jameson trade. I think it's a pretty even trade, but I do like, even though I don't think anybody on the other end, I don't think DFL or Jules or um, the Gays lost their trades or anything like that. I just think it's if you trade Dak, who's a little bit older, Pittman, who's slightly older, Dowdle, who's a running back that's maybe going to be good again next year, but we don't know. For and Jameson for four first round picks. I mean, that's really good return for a guy that wants to rebuild. So I didn't really pick him for anything else the rest of the awards. You might have, but I did feel like I just wanted to give him a shout out on the front end to avoid some criticism that I think he retooled really well.
yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree. He did a good job. Made some moves. All right, so are we getting it started with the best trade of 2025 or the most impactful player or trade of
Yeah,
2025?
that sounds great. You can go first.
Okay. Um, I felt like there was three. I had it down to like three guys, and only one of those teams on the receiving end of the trade was a playoff team. But when I started thinking about it, when I was just considering like what one team gave up and what they got back, um, I really honestly, the trade of James Cook with Kyron Williams, I mean, came up, I think, in several categories. But the one I went to as what I thought was the best move was when the Gays got Chris Olave, who ended up being the number 6 wide receiver and the 27th overall player this year. It's not the flashiest trade. It's not the best player that was acquired. Um, the trade with James Cook kind of like fell into their lap, I felt like. And anyone's going to say yes to that, right? But this one, I assume there's a little bit more back and forth, and they sacrificed Ridley in the second round and got a pick back and got a top 10 wide receiver who, if they would have gotten him, 8 weeks into the season, it would have been a first plus to get that guy. He's only 25, probably multiple firsts. So I think that was really strategic. Nobody was oohing and awing at it when it happened. I mean, I don't really remember what the consensus was on it, but I think that was probably one of like the smartest and best trades that happened this year. Even though they missed the playoffs, they scored a lot of points this year, and I think it was because of that move.
Yeah, I had them down on a few things that they did that I'm sure we'll get into. I will not piggyback off that. I mean, I made the playoffs. I made the playoffs in part because I traded for Jared Goff. I know I said I wasn't just going to pat myself on the back. I don't necessarily think it's the greatest trade of all time. I've mentioned at the top of this podcast that I think Goff's actually a liability for me because I have too many Lions. But I my seeding would have been different or whatever would have happened if I hadn't have had Goff when I had him. And so I'm really happy with my Goff trade. That's the only thing I think I have myself down for. But my trade is actually one that I hope doesn't violate the rules we discussed about it being for 2025. But I really liked that Jules got a first and a second plus Tajay Spears for Golden. And I know that Spears and Golden weren't impact players, but I kind of feel like Jules might have sold an asset at its absolute peak value. I mean, I hope that Matt Golden has a great career and wins a lot of games for Bo. But right after the draft, Bo identified Golden as this great guy. I think Jules getting a first and second for a guy that hadn't played a snap and who on January 6th, 2026 has still just about not played a snap is pretty incredible value. And so Jules was probably my pick, even though I know that it wasn't a huge impact one for
I,
this. I really
I
like
looked at that one, but
Olave.
I didn't think like, yeah, it didn't impact this year quite as much.
Your
Um,
Olave pick is where I think really like I'll second that and say that that's the winner. But I wanted to bring something else to the table.
that's fair. Good assessment there.
I'll go
All right.
first on worst trade since you got to go first last time.
All right.
I mean, Bo and Jules. I mean, this whole section could just be Bo and Jules trades. I will tell you the trade that I have the most passion about that I do not like, which is Jules trading Kittle and Barkley, who are older, but they're premium assets for no draft picks, just four players that maybe he thinks are going to be good. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Kayshon Boutte, and Travis Hunter. Now Travis Hunter gets hurt. Boutte gets benched. Sharps and Walker end up finishing RB, God knows. And they're still in a shared backfield. I mean, I guess one of them could move over the offseason. Boutte seems like it's going to be nothing. And I mean, God help him, I hope Hunter is good. But I think compared to what I said about Elliott, like what he was able to get for Dak and Pittman and Dowdle compared to what Jules got for Kittle and Barkley, I hated it. I hope I eat my words, but that is my pick for worst trade. Because if you're gonna rebuild. Don't get 24-year-olds. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I will when you compare it to the Pittman trade, like sure, probably could have gotten some more value there. But I will say, I think even though Hunter was injured and didn't play the rest of the year, shortly after that, I think, and I haven't been a big Travis Hunter guy, but the way the Jags have finished this year and, the issues with Brian Thomas Jr. and is he going to get traded now and locker room concerns and whatnot. Um, I feel like there's a lot of I feel like the Travis Hunter hype could really be there next year if he's healthy.
maybe
And
there's still Myers and there's still Parker Washington and there's still the possibility of them adding somebody else. Like they paid Myers a lot of money.
yeah, but
So
I
it's
think
still a
I
two-way
just
player.
think he got him at a good time to get him.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. But I agree with you. Like I thought there could have been more for it. Worst trade, I'm surprised that was your worst trade. Um, because I wrote two down and I thought for sure you would comment on one of them. And so I had a backup in place. I mean, I think that James Cook deal,
Yeah, the James Cook
it,
deal. We already
it
talked about
just
it, but yeah.
it's so wild. Like I didn't even write it down because it is just I think it's just kind of an outlier. It's hard to lump in with all the others. Um,
It's hard because Bo does pay for this podcast. He is the sponsor. And but I know he loses sleep over it. Like I hate to badmouth the guy because this is the Blueprint podcast, but he has to lose sleep over it.
I think he has. I think he has. But
Oh,
so my number one was the Tyreek Hill acquisition by
yeah.
Jules.
Yeah, I have that for
And if
another category, but yeah, I have that down.
yeah, I mean, he just to recap, he gave up Jackson Dart and his first round pick of this year, which was the 101, and or and then got Tyreek a third, and then a fourth and 27, and a fifth and 28. Obviously the injury hurts. Who knows what it would have happened with Tyreek this year? But looking back at it now, I think you plug this one in and to keep trade cut. It's just so wildly lopsided. Like today, with today's value, obviously not in August when the trade happened, but with today's value, because Jackson Dart has taken off, Tyreek's out now, and that picks the 101 that he gave away. To me, that just in
Oh,
hindsight, sure, he didn't know his team was going to do what they did. You know, he had a rough year, but I'm sure he'd like to have that one back. That was the worst.
I
Yeah,
have that trade written down. That's a tough trade.
and what's also interesting about that pick, though, the 101, what is now the 101, but when this trade happened, that got moved. So Dak, they sent the 101 and a third, the Gays did for Dak later in the year. Which also that was my backup as a very lopsided trade in today's value.
I mean, maybe. I like Dak. I'll tell you if I had it to do again, knowing that Elliott was going to trade Dak, I would have traded for Dak instead of Goff because the
Yeah,
price is comparable.
yeah,
Um, but it but when I was trading with Donovan, it was James's pick was considered to be like a top five pick, and then James ended up making the playoffs. Um, so I don't know where it's going to land. I guess seven or something like that. But yeah, it's a tricky situation for sure when you're trading first in the middle of the season, not knowing where people are going to end up. Um, so yeah, I do think the Dart looks awesome. That first round pick could be. I guess Elliott's going to use it on Jeremiah Love unless like something happens between now and the draft. But yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, Jules. I did try to say something nice about you cashing in on gold in the beginning because I didn't. And I have something else nice to say about you, actually. Our next category is best waiver pickup. And I have two, if you don't mind, Adam. I'll let you go first. So, in
Well,
case,
I have
I'll let you
four
go
that
first.
I feel like are very similar. So if you want to go first, go for it.
Okay, maybe we'll have some overlap. I think that the Gays getting Gadsden was really good. I think that Arande is moved into that top 10 tight end kind of conversation as far as dynasty assets go. So I really liked that one. And I really liked Jules getting Alec Pierce. Pierce is obviously a pretty volatile fantasy asset. But he is about to be a free agent and sign for a lot of money and maybe get used more than 40 catches a year. Um, those are two that kind of stood out to me as players that were usable this year, but I think have really strong futures as well. So I don't know if you have
I did
four that are different or any
I
overlap.
did not have Gadsden just because he didn't really score a ton of points
Yeah.
after he was added. Yeah, I think he's an exciting dynasty piece. but I kind of mainly focused on just this year's production. So I had Pierce as my number one. And then my number two, I don't know how much he actually played him, but I know Jake got to add Gainwell off of waivers this
Yeah,
year, and
that's solid. Yeah.
he finished as the RB 16.
Hmm.
So in Dynasty, getting to find an RB2, off of waivers is pretty exciting. He's not that old. I know him well because I allowed that to happen by dropping him earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's part of the reason
Um,
I picked Gadsden too, is because I dropped Gadsden. So
mhm.
I
So
it's
yeah, and
biased.
Jake needed running backs, so I think that was probably like one of the most impactful waiver ads. Had a couple other honorable mentions. I think anytime you can pick up a guy off waivers and then you are able to trade him for something, um, is a lot of value. Like Bo was able to do with Brissett, and there's a couple other guys like Parker Washington and um, yeah, a few others that had some impact this year. So, but I was with you with Jules, and then Jake was my number two.
Great. The inverse of that, of course, would be your worst drops. Did you record anybody for this category? Somebody that was rostered and got dropped by one of our compadres or ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, already said, Gainwell I dropped earlier this year. I mean, he wouldn't have a huge impact on my team this year, but being an RB2 this year, kind of
Yeah.
a bad drop.
Like keep away.
Um, yeah. Um, but do you have somebody for this?
Well, I regret dropping Gadsden. It was for Keenan Allen, who did like help me for in the early weeks, but ultimately faded away. And I also thought Jules dropped Parker Washington, who I don't know what he finished, but he had some good weeks.
Yeah, and Bo dropped Alec Pierce. So all the guys that were most of the guys that were added
Yeah.
were dropped by somebody else. So Pierce, Washington, and Gainwell were all dropped by somebody.
Yeah, and there was a lot of like the backup QB carousel type drops that I don't really think are super like worth getting into, but definitely like some people dropped some guys that ended up being in lineups later in the year. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, our next category, I think I already know what your answer is, and we can talk about it a little bit more. But I'll let you go ahead because I feel like this is the clear number one.
the sell high category.
Yeah,
I mean, I already propped Jules for selling Golden. Good job, buddy. But it's got to be the Gays moving Hill when they did. I mean, they
hmm
were desperate to move him too. I don't know what their version of the events is, but like they were texting me a lot because they really thought I would want Hill and they wanted Waddle and maybe something else, and then they wanted something else. Like they came after me, really were hard selling Hill. And so they saw the writing on the wall. Hey, this guy's older. Hey, the injury thing is crazy. But they were like, this guy's older. The offense has problems. Like, if Jules had reached out to them and they had like demanded that it get pried away from like their cold dead hands, I guess it'd be different. But the Gays were trying to move him. So they sold him high. Like, it's the classic definition of them trying to move a piece. So
yep,
power to them.
yeah. I think that is number one. I had another one on here that our guy Jake did. When he sold McConkey at the very beginning of the year, I
Mhm.
was not a big fan of the move um, at the time, but he got back your first for this year, Bo's first for next year, and Ricky Pearsall, and then he was able to use those pieces to end up with Tet McMillan.
Mhm. Yeah.
So McConkey didn't have a super great year, so I think he
Nowhere close
was
to where Bo was buying him.
right. Yep. I mean, he finishes the wide receiver 30. And yeah, so I think at the beginning of the year he was going like wide receiver 10, maybe, something like that. So as my kind of like my number two in this category, I think Jake did a great job selling McConkey pretty high there.
Definitely. The only other one I'll add is Chris Donovan told me golf. I think, golf's maybe retained some value, but I definitely Like, even though I said I liked that trade for me and what it did for me this year, I think um, Chris did good on that one, just like Elliott did good on how he sold Dak. Like there were some like ones that weren't as dire as Hill and Golden and uh, what Kyron. Like that's another one. I mean, Kyron's got a future, so it's not maybe like some of these other examples, but I mean, somebody comes at you and they say, "Hey, I'll sell you my house for Kyron Williams," and you end up with a better running back and picks. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
other good examples, but I do think the Hill pick is like kind of the definite number one because he's got no value now.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Just a couple others. I don't know how much time we have. Like the worst rookie first round pick. Again, hate to pile on. Jules drafted Caleb Johnson and Matthew Golden. Like he cashed out on Golden, but like I think Jules is like really taking the L on the Caleb Johnson thing. I don't know that there's another first rounder that's really in that category.
No, I mean, I went through them. They're still, jury's going to be out on a lot of those guys. I think, maybe you could say Cam Ward didn't, not, I mean, Titans are terrible, but he also didn't look very great this year. But,
That's true.
so I think he could be like the number two in this category.
Yeah.
But in three, it's kind of hard with rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. So I
Um,
think for Jules, yeah, that Caleb Johnson one is definitely going to be the runaway in this category.
I mean, the inverse of that is like if you look past the first round, Jules drafted Dart at the end of the second. And I traded him, but like it was pretty good value.
Yeah.
Um, Chris got Loveland in the middle of the second, who I think like finished the year pretty strong. I mean, obviously there was like Buka. Tyler Shuck, I think, is probably my pick for like maybe the best pick outside of the first round relative to like every pick you go, like picking a good player 11th is not as valuable as picking a good player 40th. And I feel like Tyler Shuck's kind of there in the middle at like the 23rd pick. It's maybe going to be their quarterback next year. I mean, was he better
Oh,
than
I think he
Cam Ward
is.
down this stretch? I mean, he was pretty good
He was
as a
great.
fantasy asset too.
I mean, I think he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. So I think that one, I think that was Matt, who also drafted Cam Ward, which is funny. But Matt might have good quarterbacks next year. And we picked on Matt a little bit on our draft recap about getting too many quarterbacks and the Stafford trade and stuff because it ended up being a Buka. And maybe he'll continue to regret that or whatever. But Stafford ended up being what, QB2 or whatever for the year? Stafford was awesome.
He really was. That ended up, if he was using them in late in the year, like that would have ended up being a really great trade.
The last thing I
Jake getting Fannin really late too was a good move.
Yeah,
Rookie draft.
Fannin, I failed to mention. Yeah, Fannin
Yeah.
was
He got him in the fourth.
round.
Yeah.
And nobody in the fifth round really stands out except for Woody Marks, who Chris got. It was okay and might be good next year too.
Hmm.
Um, the only other thing I had written down was the best start sit. It's a category you suggested, but I've already taken a victory lap on the fact that I started Chase Brown over Josh Jacobs, despite criticism. But the only thing is, it really doesn't matter because I mean, I guess instead of being out $250, I'm out $100. But it's like
Yeah, I
hard
didn't have
to
time
take
to
a
go
victory
through all
lap.
these weekly matchups to really get one of those.
Yeah. You suggested the category, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do for that. So I just picked recency bias was like the one that got me to the finals.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair. We'll give you that one. You win that one.
All right. Um, but we have a minute left of recording. We're gonna finish this thing in under 40 minutes, which is incredible. We've
I
never
feel like
done
we're
that.
improving.
All right, so nickname this episode on YouTube "Shit on Jules and Bo." Uh, I feel like we hardly mentioned Matt and James and Chris. We gave them a couple shout outs here and there, but uh,
There was a lot. I mean, we could go through all these trades for hours and hours because there was going through them. There was a lot of moves, and there was a lot of them like, oh, that's that could be considered, as in this category. But I felt like in every category there was one or two that just kind of ran away with it.
yeah.
Pretty polarizing transactions.
Well, this might be it until around draft time. So I had a lot of fun doing this with you this year, Adam. I'm sorry that I lost to you, but congratulations again on your victory. Add some music to this part.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll get my team to do that. You're a great opponent. Great year. Great league. Love all you guys. Excited for next year.
Can't wait for next year.
All right. See you guys.